Okay, I'm Beck Lane, and this is Catalyst and Company. Catalyst and Company, where we're catalysts in each other's lives as well as our own, and we work at being the artists we've always wanted to be. And we're sitting right now. We're in my bedroom slash garage slash painting storage area, and I like this little cave room because of this little unit. I think it's Daizu. I can never remember. It's like Daizu. It's a great unit if you can get your hands on one. My landlord put in two. I've got one here and one in the main room where we usually do videos out of, where I paint. It's a place only has two rooms, so it's here and there. We've got two Daizu, or whatever they're called, units, and they can work as AC units, a heater unit, or a dehumidifier. And this thing has just been an absolute godsend, especially here in Florida, because it does get so humid and so hot and so damp. So it's off now, but I usually have it set on dehumidifier and set at about 78 degrees, somewhere in there. So it stays nice and dry in here and protects the paintings, protects the paint in the paintings. It doesn't protect them from me. I still have a habit of dropping things and poking holes in paintings and then having to repair them. But at least they're protected from the weather, from the environment, the Florida environment. So over the past week, I've had a few things going on, but first, I've had a few things going on and they're all good. But first, I was thinking yesterday actually, it was 4 months ago, yesterday, excuse me, that I landed in the hospital. And I can't believe it's been 4 months. It's been that long, but also that short, because it's been hard some days getting through those, getting through those 4 months and trying to get better. And I landed in the hospital October 15th, I think, due to blood loss, and we can't figure out where the blood was going because I haven't seen any. But I was low on blood, low iron, anemia, which are two separate things. My stomach lining is deteriorating, and I have ulcers. So yippity-doo-dah-day, I won the bingo card there. But I'm much stronger now, and it's because of friends here on YouTube and on Facebook and in real life who have been helping, and Instagram, who have been helping me, like, make it one day to the next. And that sounds dramatic, but it's true. It's that many issues in one person is a lot. And then we add on to it the RSD, CRPS, and a boatload of injuries. It's like, okay, we're gonna try and make it through today. I really do feel like a tiny little dinghy out in the middle of the ocean sometimes, just like, oh dear God, we're gonna tip over. Maybe we should just tip over and end this. But it hasn't ended. We have continued, and I'm glad. I'm somewhat glad, because we get to explore weeks like this week, where we had an opening. I got to work with somebody new, Stephanie at Gray Productions in Sarasota. We did an event last Tuesday. I was going to say Friday, but I think it was Tuesday, at Art Ovation Hotel up on the roof. And it went really, really well. We had a lot of people. I spent the night signing autographs and having my picture taken, and people treating me like a celebrity, which is kind of odd, and the prettiest girl at the prom. But it was fun. It was really fun. It was nice meeting all these people I'd never met before, and people in Sarasota who knew me or didn't, knew me, were just meeting me for the first time. It was just nice to have these exchanges and have these interactions and get to meet new people. So tonight we're doing another event. I'm at Chasen Galleries with a boatload of other artists, but it's like a group event. It's a group event thing. There's on South Osprey Avenue in Sarasota. It's a section of town. South Osprey Avenue, Sarasota, is where Chasen Galleries is is. And that portion of town, that little neighborhood, has an event every every third Thursday of the month during high season. And high season here is limited from, depending who you talk to, November to April. But this Southgate Village Association, or whatever it's called, Southgate Village, is only working from January to April for these third Thursdays. And that's where all the businesses are open a little bit later, and the galleries are open a little bit later, and you can hold events and stuff. So we're doing that tonight from 5 to 8 p.m. And it'll be really fun because I look forward to meeting new people, meeting different and new people. And I think I'm going to be painting there. I have to load everything on my scooter, but I'll be painting there. That should be interesting. Wish me luck on that one. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And then tomorrow night, we're at a place called Vino Bistro. Vino Bistro on 5th Street in downtown Sarasota. And when I was first asked to do it, I went, I don't do coffee bars, I don't do wine bars, I don't do restaurants, I don't do any of that. I don't. I'm just, no. And then I went down and I saw Vino Bistro, and it was like a step above. It's industrial, it has a really nice feel to it. So, and I knew the artwork would fit in well. So we've got 8 or 9 paintings this month, through the month of February, at Vino Bistro. It's really kind of hip and cool, and the owner is from Manhattan, so she's got that Manhattan vibe that I really appreciate being around, and the aesthetic too. Yeah, nifty place, great tapas. You know, it's a restaurant, but it's just a little bit different. It's a little bit different, you know, than Olive Garden. But anywho, so that's that. Yeah, it's those 3 events, and we've got another one coming up in March and a solo show coming up in April. And when I have the dates for all of that, I'll let you know. But I wanted to mention one other thing before we go. For the past 6 months, and I'm not proud of this, but it is what it is. For the past 6 months, I've had to use a food pantry up the street from me. I can only physically get to one food pantry, to one. There are several around the city, but the scooter is a little bit unreliable, and I, quite frankly, don't have the energy to go anywhere. I just don't. I'm, being so sick, just 4 months ago, it didn't end, it's continued on. And without medication, I can get very, very, very sick and get close to being in the spot I was in before. But anywho, I've had to use a food pantry up the street. And there's times I've stood there and cried because it's just awful. It's criminal. I shouldn't be in this. I should never be in this position. No one should be. No one should be in the position of having to go to a food pantry. It's humiliating. It's absolutely humiliating. It's degrading. Just being there. However, these people have been wonderful, and we've gotten to know each other. The volunteers and I, when I'm not crying, the volunteers and I have gotten to know each other. And yesterday, I got to volunteer there for the first time. And they really are wonderful people. However, the issue we've run into, I've watched over the past 4 or 5 months, is the only food coming in is highly processed food, and there's not a lot of it. If you've ever eaten in a food pantry, you know that the least expensive, the cheapest food comes in. People go, I'll get a can of beans because that's healthy for somebody. I won't eat it, but they'll eat it. And so people, they're kind of well-meaning, but they're cheaping out, and it's just really hard. It's really, really hard. It's a tough situation for everybody involved all the way around, because you want to do something, and you want to do the right thing, but then it's like, well, I can't afford to spend on other people what I would spend on myself. So, anywho, lots of beans, lots of highly processed, sugary based beans that, you can get at the dollar store. I'm not just saying this as a food pantry recipient, but as an outsider as well. highly processed, really cheap cereals with tons of sugar, um, pasta, macaroni and cheese. All of that sounds great, but a human being can't exist on highly processed foods. So, what I'm getting to is, if you can donate to your local food pantry, please do it, because you don't know who's coming in the door. You really don't know. You really don't know, and you don't know what situation they're in. Uh, I've talked to, I've met I've met several people when I've been waiting in line who were doing really well in life, and then they moved to Sarasota. People who are living sometimes in some really nice places, and their life just fell apart here, and they can't afford food. There's people who we see on the streets every day who use food pantries, and we feel like, well, a lot of people feel like, well, they get what they get. That's fine. But it can, the overprocessed foods can literally kill people. And so now I'm one person, and I'm not proud of it, but I'm one person who's had to use the food pantry, my local one, for 6 months. And without it, I would have been sunk, absolutely sunk. The past year, sales have been really, really slow. Sales have been really, really slow, and I'm tap dancing as fast as I can, but it is what it is. So anyway, yesterday I finally got the chance to volunteer at the food pantry, and I'm very open about having been a customer there. I met all new people who hadn't seen me when they've been volunteering, and they're like, "Oh, this poor person, they said to me, if I didn't have the food pantry, I wouldn't eat tonight." And I went, "That's me." I sat there and I went, "Well, that's me." I said I would go home tonight and I would allow myself to have half a bowl of oatmeal, and that would be it, because that's what I got if it weren't for the food pantry. But even that oatmeal, plain oatmeal, came from the food pantry. And they were startled. And so we were talking about food and what comes into the food pantry. And I said, I don't mean to be disrespectful, because there is nothing you guys can do. There is nothing you can do, I don't think, to help. But not everyone can eat pasta. I can't eat pasta. Not everyone can eat tomato sauce. I can't eat tomato sauce. I'll get sick. And I could die. I now can't eat peanut butter, which I love, but there's cheap, overprocessed peanut butter in food pantries normally too, which doesn't help. And I've gotten desperate enough where I've eaten it, and then I get really sick. There's just tons of sugar and stuff, and so I explained to them how hard this can be. But at the same time too, somebody dropped off a ton of cucumbers to this food pantry. Cucumbers, avocados, they had tomatoes. When we started off, they had tomatoes. There were all kinds of vegetables in the cooler, and a ton of chicken and other healthier choices than highly processed canned foods. At the end of the day, which is when I went in, there was absolutely nothing left. There was nothing but processed foods left. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but the organizer said to me, "Why didn't you go in?" And I know this is running long. The organizer actually said to me, "Why didn't you go in when you first got here?" And I said, "I'm not volunteering to jump to the front of the line, like elbow everybody. I'm going to get what I want. I'm volunteering because this food pantry and everyone here has helped me for 6 months. So I want to help. I need to lend a hand, because that is just one of my core beliefs, is that you know, you don't just take, you do as well. So she said, well, you should. And I go, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I am not coming in here to be number one. There are people that showed up to be in the first in line because they're probably in a much worse situation than I am. Whether they are or not, it's none of my business. But it was a good day for pretty much, for most people at the food pantry. So anyway, if you can, now you know something that is pretty shameful, but I'm ashamed of, but there's nothing I can do about it. If I'm not inspiring people to buy my artwork, if I'm not inspiring people to do more than go, like, this is where you end up. This is just where you end up. But then I was here when I was working, too. I was in this position because I worked for shitty people. So, shitty jobs for shitty people, working for shitty people. So anyway, the bottom line is I had one show last week, 2 shows coming up, one tonight at Chasen Galleries on South Osprey, second one at Vino Bistro on 5th Street, and then blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then the fourth point was, please donate to your food pantry. Please donate to your food pantry. Please donate to your food pantry. And donate food that you would eat, that you would feed to your children, to your mother, to your grandmother, your grandparents. Because you don't know you don't know whose life that donation affects. You may quite seriously be keeping somebody alive so they can live to celebrate another day. All right, I'm Beck Lane. If you'd like to help support Catalyst and Company, the links are down below, including links to Cash App and PayPal. Links to my galleries, including Blue Egg Gallery in Fort Lauderdale, J. Louise out there. Chasen Galleries, where I'll be tonight. You can talk to Andrew and Mark there about any work that you've seen, or most work. And then my friend Raffaello at Artfront Galleries in New Jersey. But then there's also links to TeePublic, where I just uploaded the first 3 images of Frida Kahlo. First three paintings of Frida Kahlo have been uploaded to TeePublic. And Patreon, where I try to talk to people and then I forget. But Patreon, where you can supply monthly support as well, which is fabulous. That's good to be able to know is coming. All right, ciao. All right, Carrie, ready? Ciao, ciao, meow, meow, boink.